one thing about pricing, a sentence that I didn't throw in, but I had thought about and then actually kind of didn't come out of my mouth during the filming, which is how TV and film work, is that, you know, sometimes I hear complaints about pricing and I say, well, you know, the price is the price, you know. It is a producer's right to set whatever price they want. And is it, of course, much more importantly, a consumer's right to stay the well away from it. And, you know, so complaining about price, especially I find, you know, okay, could this be like £5 cheaper or £5 more expensive? I'm like, look, you know, if you want it, you've got to, you know, if not. So the pricing that I kind of complain about is where there are certain brands, distilleries, companies who seem to think that, you know, the liquid shines out of their ass. It's another great analogy there. And therefore they are justified in not just putting a 10% premium or a 20% premium, but, you know, in some cases a 100%,
Yeah.
500%, you know, a number so far beyond any reasonable expectation of what, you know, somebody should be prepared to pay for this. And, you know, actually, it's funny because saying the phrase reasonable expectation reminded me of the famous court case of Equitable Life. So Equitable Life were a mutual life insurance company who had released a set of policies, and then some people felt that they should be paying out more from these policies. And Equitable essentially took themselves to court to prove their own point, not in a million years conceiving that they could lose. A spoiler alert. So the first court case, they lost, and then they won the appeal. And then it went to the High Court, where they lost 5-0. And that created such a huge black hole in the company that they eventually needed to be bought by Halifax, who were working with Bank of Scotland. Hence, you know, they were owned by HBOS. And so actually it's kind of interesting, you know, that within the world of insurance, which is essentially people purchasing a product, there was this world of, you know, policyholders, customers, reasonable expectations, right, about what they were going to get out of a transaction. And by the way, this is the first time I've thought about this, which is a sign of what an inspiration and what a legend this guy is, that he's creating new thoughts in my head. But it's interesting that we don't apply that in some other areas, right? So if, you know, because taste is subjective, but there has to be, I think, I don't know how you regulate it, but do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, a reasonable expectation of value versus what you're buying.
Of the quality, right? So if I'm paying £500 for a bottle, that in itself is not a problem. But somehow that £500 has to be superior. I mean, how you measure that it's 10 times
you know what?
superior?
I'm going to, this is, I don't do it. I never bash anything. I'm very fair. If you've not got something nice to say, don't say it. That's normally my thing. And just put it on camera if you're listening. There we go. This costs the same, well, this now costs at retail the same price as this Thompson dram, right? And it's A Night on Earth in Scotland by the Macallan. It's a beautiful box, right? It's an absolute beauty of a box. And it has this lovely presentation. You open it and you lift it up. And I made the mistake. It was my naivety of not selling it. I should have just punted it. And at auction, it's went up and down. I paid £80 for this at the time. And this went up and down to like 150, 200, down to 70, down to 200. I'm going to pour you, just you, I'm not pouring myself one here.
I thought we were friends, mate.
I'm going to pour you a dram of this, right? And
Right, that's, right.
This is meant to, there you go, the cork, even the corks.
Oh my God, okay.
Don't worry.
That wasn't...
It's just, look at that, look at this. This is what I mean. Edrington, man.
That wasn't staged, by the way. Oh, that's almost wonderfully, you know, representative of
the standards, right? And I have a very soft spot for Edrington.
It's just a box, mate.
I have a very soft spot for them because I got a scholarship to go to uni from the Robinson's Trust, which is funded, is owned by Edrington. It's Edrington.
I mean, you know,
Whisky paid for my uni.
It's a nice box, by the way, but it's not like it's made of platinum. I mean, this is cardboard.
It's
you know,
cardboard.
It's a nice design.
It's nice design.
It's not
a nightmare if you own it because you can't put it on any shelf and it just sits forever.
Yeah,
that's
which is ironically a weird problem. You know, it's like it's too high and it's too big.
The tasting notes on it is it's meant to inspire you for Hogmanay in Scotland, and it's meant to be shortbread, cinnamon, and orange, right?
All right, thank you.
But in front of you, you have a small micro distillery, Dornoch, which they have crafted and they've spent a lot of time, and it's like a free man's job at that point. There's literally every bottle is hand bottled, every label is hand applied.
Yeah.
Every Thompson Brothers bit is done by machine, by hand. So you get to a stage where you're thinking, right, we're talking about quality, a general line in the sand of what you expect. And you should have an expectation. If you pay from 20 to 40 pound in whiskey in the UK, you know roughly what you're going to get. There's some good, there's some bad. Fine. If I buy something at £25 and it's not great, I'm not surprised. If I buy something at £25, it's great. I am very surprised.
Mm-hmm.
If I buy something at £100, I have an expectation that I'm going to get something different.
Yeah.
Unique, but quality is going to be up here.
Yeah.
And it's same from 50 to 100, let's say. There's an expectation you should get. I'm ranting so few because I fucking can't believe they put that liquid out, this Macallan. It's embarrassing.
So I've saved some of this Thompson Brothers.
Yep.
Which is strong enough to hopefully, well, and listen, by the way, I'm going to give this a fair go. Okay. I'm not going to be influenced by David here.
Yeah, my rant's right.
All right. What's a cask on this? Sherry, of course. I mean, but immediately I'm getting those elements of, you know.
This is first fill ex-bourbon and sherry.
Yeah. It is tempered, but you see, it's interesting because I'm getting on the nose immediately. I'm thinking, oh, we'll see. We'll have to see. The nose is not inviting. Okay. That is weird. It's a weird dram. Last night I had some whiskey from In the Welsh Wind.
Mm-hmm.
Vin's bottle. And I mean, that was weird, by the way, but it was devastatingly good. Like, that is a high recommendation. If you've never tried anything from them, you will be blown away. I think it may not be for you, but I think people like, you know, people watching this who do drink a lot of whiskey and want to try something so completely different from anything that they've tried before, high recommendation. So weird in and of itself is not a problem. And I had a dram and then I had another dram and so on. This is weird because, like, it feels like there's, you know what I'm going to say about this dram? It feels like there's something missing from it. Like, in that way, liquid enters your mouth, you have those initial notes, you sort of inspect the mouthfeel, as it were, and then there's a finish. It's like there's parts of that process missing. And then the parts you do taste, they're not good. They're not so completely and utterly offensive that it's sort of, you know, I'm like just going, I'm not going to drink the few remaining milliliters here. But how much did he pay for that?
80, and it goes for like 105 now. And it's to me, what made me upset about it is it's Macallan. People get excited by the Macallan. They think the Macallan, people will buy you the Macallan as a gift and think, oh my God, I'm doing you a favour. This is an amazing gift. And this is to represent Hogmanay in Scotland, one of the biggest cultural moments we have as a nation.
Yep.
And it's piss. It's just not good. And it's this. I think that the reason I brought it out, and I'm not a basher, right? There's some Macallan liquid that's phenomenal. And
oh yeah, I tried Whisky Life 2023 in Paris. I tried it was over 30-year-old SMWS Macallan bottle.
Yep. Oh, phenomenal. That stuff.
Like, I mean, just mind blowing, right?
Then I'm like, so that's what you can do. That's what you can be. But then you put this out, you put so much art and presentation into it, and it's not an easy box, and they've hired artists to design it and all that. And it's just so disappointing that that's what it is. But it's a commodity now. They don't care. It's a brand name. And no reason I brought it is because it was to your point of, as consumers, we expect certain things. And if you're new to the game, and that's your intro to whiskey, well, okay, maybe you do like it now. Maybe our experienced palate spoils it a bit for us. But I don't find that pleasant. I don't think that's give me another one.
If that had been my first whiskey, or my second whiskey, or my 10th whiskey, I think, and people were telling me this is meant to represent the best of the category because of the brand of Macallan, I don't think you'd be finding that.
And I think you should put it in a lineup blind and be like,
on your screens now.
If you went blind, what do you think that is? No one's picking Macallan. No one's even going to mention it.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Sort of, not every bottle has to represent some distillery character, but you do have to think about that a little bit. You know, I mean, that's why I guess brands have a core range, and that's why sometimes when those casks are a little bit off-brand, they offload them. They offload them to independent bottlers.
Or they'll do something a bit different with it, and they'll try, like Ardbeg do all these different releases and stuff like that. But it's a strange one. Whereas you go to this, right?
Yeah.
And
thank God I'm going back to this.
Right? What I love about this is it's Dornoch. Dornoch has a weird. I'm not going to lead you on it, but it had something different to it.
Yeah.
But it's in a PX octave. This was in as well, and it's when we're talking about like what you can do with sherry.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you should do sherry. The same way that Daft will do it. You merge the two together.
Yeah.
You complement.
Yeah.
This is a sherry heavy thing, but Ben Rennes can stand up to it.
Yeah.
And it can hit it blow for
Yeah.
Whereas with this, the longer this is left in the glass, like I could leave that glass and you could come tomorrow and smell it.
Yeah.
It's going to be all fruit.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, because it's merged in with it. Whereas with this, I just find quite an interesting night and day from that. Like you're talking complexity and stuff like that, but it's such a geeky dram for me, that.
Yeah.
But it's
interesting, right? 50-litre PX octave, as you said.
It's so unique, and every one of them that comes out is different, and they're.
I mean, right here on the label, you know, they've got the days of fermentation. I mean, they know their market, right? They know that.
And also, these are balloted, so they know who's getting them as well.
Yeah.
They know to an extent, right? This is who's coming in. There was a flipping market for them, so that's why they did the extreme ballots and stuff. But the reason I only have one opened is because I take my time with them, because they are for us.
Yeah.
They're no, I don't, if I've got friends coming around here who don't really drink much whiskey, they don't get near that.
Yeah.
Because why? Same as like expensive wine or anything.
It's not the price point, actually. You are making, to an extent, a value judgment on what they're going to enjoy, right? I mean, exactly.
And maybe some of them, I'll give them that, because I need to give it to somebody. And
you know,
maybe they love it.
I hang out with friends in Tokyo who are not beer drinkers, for example. We'll go to the pub and I'll say, you know what, I'm going to order this first, you know.
Yeah.
I think you might like it. Have a mouthful.
But you have a think of, you think you might like it. You're not going to give them some mental stout that's been like,
that's it. That's what we said. Infused with X and aged in Y.
Of course not, because they're not going to appreciate. They might like it, but also will they appreciate it? They go, oh, that's all right. Not like it's a broad statement, and there's plenty of whiskey like that.
Yeah.
You can give them. Whereas this, you get a kind of like portion off and say, right, that's for me. But that bottle's been open now probably just under a year. And when I went to which will be the next dram. When I went to America and I went to Glen's Creek Distillery, which is this fine stuff, and the master distiller David, I took a bottle, single cask, which was their whiskey show bottle from 2023.
Okay.
And you could only get it if Phyllis Simon handed you a token at the stand. Then with that token, you could go to the shop, hand the token over, and then purchase it. So they controlled, because they knew there was demand for it. I took that bottle to Glens Creek and opened it at Glens Creek and gave half bottle to them. And then I left that bottle in Neat Whiskey Bar in Louisville, which is voted one of the world's best whiskey bars. If you've seen the Kentucky adventure trip, you'll discover that we sat at the bar and accidentally,
incredible series,
and accidentally sat beside the proprietor and owner of the bar, who then proceeded to just spoil us all night. And we paid, like, the bill came to $36. It was unbelievable. And I was like, let me drop this bottle in tomorrow. And if anybody ever asks for a scotch or that, it's a Scotch drinker, and you'll have something special for them.
Yeah.
Because that's what that feels like. And that's very much what, when I took it to Dave, he's a maker. He's a tiny distillery beside Castle and Key. They filter it through coffee filters by hand. The mash tuns, the actual stills are Frankenstein from soy tanks from Minnesota, and like everything is done. They harvest the wild yeast from the old fermentation tanks of the old Crow distillery that's on the site, and use the wild yeast to then create the bourbon.
Yeah.
Like, it's night and day, world removed, but very similar to what Dornoch are doing, that away from your Macallans, away from your Buffalo Traces and that. And I think that level of care and effort, it might not taste as good as this bourbon, and it might not taste as good as that whiskey, but there's a story and there's a craft to it that makes you appreciate what these people are trying to do.
Yeah.
On a level that is what whiskey's about for me. That's why I get quite into them. And I know when I do a lot of videos, there's a lot of the Merkin stuff and there's a lot of Thompson Brothers stuff. The reason for that is because
Thank you.
you buy the story and you buy the people, don't you? At the end of the day.
Where's your pour of this?
I'm going to get a glass.
Excellent.
Don't worry.
Just want to make sure that the bartender is also taking.
We also have to go just real time. We're not really 8 and it's coming up lunchtime. So
what you said just then, it is exactly what we were touching on, vis-a-vis brand, right? Like tasting blind, right? So you could,
this is 102.2 proof, so 51.1.
No story can cover a crap liquid, but similarly, I mean, they've done so many experiments, haven't they? I mean, the whole £100 bottle of wine in a £5 bottle, you're going to think it's crap. A £5 wine in a £100 bottle, you're immediately like, and they can measure it, like it tastes better to you. And for me, it's not the price point. For me, it's kind of the story of it. Like if you can identify that this liquid has been made with integrity and information about it is delivered with transparency, then all else being equal, that does actually mean a lot to me. So, because I'm excited now to try this, right?
Well,
what have you told me? Basically, I mean, truly handmade, hand filtered through coffee filters. I mean, what the actual, it's
a bourbon, and it's
that nose is
it's great.
Wonderful,
it's lovely, and my Spanish isn't great. Cuervo Vito or Cuervito Vivo is like the crow lives or whatever. Because it's from the old Crow Distillery, the site. And
yeah, James Crow, right?
Yeah, and Scottish guy. So it's interesting in that, but the story behind it to me means so much, and the people behind it mean so much. And if someone DM'd me, there was somebody, again, you don't talk other stuff and you just say nothing, but some people were saying some stuff about a distillery in Scotland that has a reputation amongst whiskey for being quite not great. But it was another person in whiskey was saying stuff about this on a platform. And that's not cool, because at the end of the day, people are just trying to do their job. There's people in marketing, there's people in the stills, there's people in the warehouse, there's people in the shop and whatever. Getting on, try to do it, and we're all working towards the same goal. You can let consumers shout and scream like, I've just done that about the Macallan, and I feel bad doing it, but I would happily stand with a Macallan right now and put 2 Macallans in front of them and say, that's a good one. Are you telling me that's good? And they, hopefully with a straight face, they would obviously give me the spiel, but would know it's not as good, of course. So I'm not coming at it from an attack angle, but it's also a case of like say, people buy stories. It affects you. If you know the history behind somewhere, then absolutely you buy into it. And I think you see it with Japanese whiskey. I think if more Scottish people knew the story of Japanese whiskey, they don't. The majority's got no idea. They just think Japanese people were copying them making Scotch. That's the broad consensus, as opposed to the romantic K-pop drama, K-drama style, going over, falling in love, marrying, going back, all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden you're more invested.
Yeah, you're more invested. You're absolutely right. What you've just said, though, has touched on something I wanted to talk to you, which is, you know, there's a responsibility as a reviewer. And we went through a phase last year before, as a community where due to a certain, let's just call it what it is, bullshit, you know, people kind of came out and said, you know, tried to establish the integrity of their reviews, right? So, you know, I mean, you know, would release videos talking about the act of reviewing. You know, do you take freebies? These kind of things. And it's something I wrestle with a lot, especially because, of course, the culture of the country I live in is distinct from the culture of the country where I was born. So honesty means something different, you know, responsibility means something different, you know. And that's one of the reasons why I respect Ralphie just so much. I mean, he's just, you know, he's just made a decision that he will tell it how it is. And how it is means how he thinks it is. And he is not scared about any kind of lack of access. He is not scared about not receiving a bottle here and there. He is not scared about some magical potential opportunities that some distilleries dangle in front of our eyes, which I think a lot of that is actually just to keep us quiet. What are your thoughts on these things?
I have no loyalty to anybody. I don't get paid by anybody outside of whiskey. I have Patreons who pay, and I feel an obligation to them, and they're paying me not because I offer some amazing service out with of just making my videos. They're paying me to support me, keep me doing what I'm doing. I was invited a couple of weeks ago to a tasting by Desie, who have a barrel they call it the barrel program, and they make Irish whiskey, and they make their own Sagamore rye, and they also do a Marsala that they're trying to bring to the UK. So it was this tasting with that. Great fun, and I tried the Irish whiskey, the Busker, and to be honest, it just wasn't, none of them, they were all right, but there was nothing for me. They weren't bad, but they weren't good. And so I just chose not to talk about it, but I did focus on the Sagamore, and I was like, I really like the Sagamore, that's lovely. And then the PR person was like, oh, would you like us to send you a bottle? And I said, if you want to. I don't have Sagamore, so they've no sent it. Ardnamurkin, Graham, that I know, who's the rep there, reached out to me when they launched the Midgie and said, mate, can I send you a wee dram of the Midgie? And I said, absolutely, why not? Because I'd like to try it. And I tried the review and I was very honest with it, and I thought it was better than the last Midgie that I can barely remember trying, but instantly. And then I said, this is it. But I'm not getting any favour. I buy their stuff, I think it's good. But in the same way that all I've got is my honesty and integrity. And if I don't have that, then why am I bothering? There's people on other platforms who have bought their audience, who have bought their view counts, have bought stuff, and you can see it if you do a bit of research. And they're getting the trips, and they're getting this and that and that. And I'm like, that's fine. And I'm not wanting to say open your bottles or anything like that. But for God's sake, when the entire feed is just adverts, I'm like, it really grinds my gears, because here we are. I took a day off work to do this today. Like, this is my passion. I'm not making money doing this. And as you said, the ad revenue doesn't cover the cost of the electricity, right? I get
$1 a day.
And I'm not getting I'm not getting paid. Like, it's not a job. The sunk cost of all this will never be met. So it really annoys me. It does annoy me when that. But at the same time, as I say to you, there's people just trying to do a job. There are people working for these brands who maybe are embarrassed by stuff that's getting put out, or maybe aren't, maybe don't care. Some people just don't work. People that work for whiskey don't necessarily like whiskey. Same way footballers, some footballers don't like football. It's just their job. And so I think for me, it's more a case of we've kind of went on this ambling rant, but there is a thread through it that's about being honest, expectations, reality, and what can we do, and what's our responsibility. And my responsibility is to the people that give up the most valuable thing, which is their time, to listen to me talk to myself.
Agreed.
Pretty much most of the time it's me talking to myself. And so if like when we had that Ben Renaissance, I said I told people to get it and they went and got it and they loved it. The Midgie, I tried it, loved it. I was in the whiskey exchange with my mate from work and he went, oh, I want a bottle. What will I get? I said, you should get that Midgie. That's off camera, real life, don't care. And then he messages me and I can show you the text. And he went, that's fucking lovely.
There you go, exactly.
And that's it. And that's, at the end of the day, that's my through line is, what I'm saying on camera and what I'm saying in person, are they the same thing?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. And there'll be a couple of whiskies that I'll just steer people away from. I won't say on camera, but the obvious thing is, I'm not saying get them on camera.
Yeah, I mean, that's, there is a bit of that sometimes, some of my fellow commentators in Japan, again, because they're so scared of some potential, imaginary in the cloud consequences for saying anything negative. Do a doctor, well, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything. And I'm like, well, that just doesn't sit well with me.
That's why I do it for me or no for me. I can say the negatives from my point of view.
It's a great way of handling it. It's a great way of handling it.
And I'm not saying you're right or wrong, and that's fine. But at the same time, I'm not getting it. Like, I've had, in the entire time doing this, I've had one sample sent of that. I had Rare Fine sent me a tasting set.
Yeah.
A couple of them, lovely. A couple of them, nah, wasn't really for me. I've been invited to a dinner with Tom and Tool, which was lovely. Never been invited to one of those before. Haven't been invited since. And got invited to that event the other week that I spoke about. And that's it. And I'll go to things, but people, I'm very honest when I go to them, and I try and record in real time for those ones. That's why I like Drams in the Ring, because I can give you my really honest, normally 5 dram deep opinion right after the fact.
The best opinion. I don't want your 3 dram deep opinion. Nobody's here for that.
The 5 dram, but that's the main thing for me. I'm not doing this to make money or be rich. The Patreons, the support on that is unbelievable, because what that gives me.
Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you. One of my Patreons.
Top tier, no less.
Yeah, top tier. And he's getting this. I'm not telling you what it is, but you'll be on the walls in here soon. But the main thing for me is with that money goes straight back in.
Yeah. So and that's obvious, by the way.
Like the monitor I got in some mad deal is for the stream, is for that.
Yeah.
That was paid for by Patreons. The bottle that Thompson bought one, this one. Yep, this bottle here, bought by Patreons.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and that helps me keep going, and it also helps me legitimize what I'm doing with my family and stuff as well. When I'm like, right, I need to go and do this, and they're like, why? And I was like, Patreons have paid for it.
If I have 5,000 more Patreons, it'll put you through college.
Yeah.
I get it. You deserve every penny, mate, because I think what you're doing is a phenomenal service, and your voice is a voice that I want to continue to hear in the industry. And you listen, I watch a lot of channels, and there are very few that I support financially.
But at the same time, I'm not asking. This is the other thing. I'm not asking. I did it because I was.
No. I had. But you don't. I mean, to just cut in there and to get real, you don't need to get defensive about it either. Like, you do what you do. And yeah, I think what I remember when I put out a video where there was the video, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to put out an extended version. And I'm going to send a link to that to anybody who makes a donation on buy me a coffee. So I don't have a Patreon yet, but there's a sort of buy me a coffee link in, I think not even all videos. And, you know, I rarely talk about it. So that should tell people.
Yep.
And I remember I put a tweet about this, and then the guy, like, it was within about 2 minutes, the guy replied going, "Oh, I thought you were better than that." And I was just like, I mean, what the actual fuck? But you can't control what's out there. You just got to do what you do with integrity.
If you're doing something for free, why would people pay for it? And that was always, and my mindset was, I'm not doing this for the money, whatever. I had people email me from around the world, genuine emails going,
so how can I support you?
And I'm like, oh, I don't feel comfortable now because I don't also want to feel obligated.
You don't want to feel obligated. So there's actually a two-way thing, because as soon as you set that up, you like have, you know, like you and Jeff Whisky, who I also support. You know, it's actually incredible what you guys do. I mean, you keep the community updated in a way that I'd be like, wow, this looks now like a full-time job for, again, like not that much money. I mean, you need a lot of Patreons or patrons or whatever they're meant to be called, to actually even be breaking even.
And once I've done a year of it, I will do an audit of it, and I'll put that as a video. This is how much I made from my year monetization, and show you. Patreon take a cut if you buy via the App Store, if you buy in a different currency from dollar, if you do this, then they take their fee and stuff. And it's funny because I genuinely couldn't tell you what I get a month, even though the Patreons will be like, I've not had any new ones. Let's say as of today, there's no new ones for a month. I wouldn't be able to tell you next month how much that money is, because there's all these weird subsections that come off. But what I do know is that money's infinitely more than what I was earning before I did it. And all of a sudden it gives you that freedom to be able to say what you want to say and do what you want to do.
Yeah,
and it's not
because the community are paying you for that. You know what does get on my... I found this out. I was in the UK last summer, and Cornelska were having their UK launch. And would you believe it? Vin from No Meltzer's Whiskey told me about it. And so anyway, and the legend that he is, I mean, truly like an OG Whiskey Tube legend. He, you know, I was there, I attended. And that's when I found out that I was in the room with some people who had paid for their platform. You know, they had paid for subscribe. Oh no, what is it on Instagram? Followers. Yeah, they had paid for Instagram followers. And I don't know. I just, you know, I just thought this was a bit weird. A bit weird to have decided that that's...
But then be rewarded for it.
And then the frustration is that, again, the industry doesn't know and doesn't care, perhaps.
I think they know.
People know, but they don't care.
Yeah.
Because actually the person who's organising for an event, all they need to do is justify why they've invited, and the justification is look at the followers.
It's a slide, it's numbers, here's the reach, potential reach. This will come.
Potential reach, that's it, because you can't guarantee actual reach, and in fact you don't have visibility on numbers of actual reach.
5,000 on and off, it dips up and down and it comes and goes, and that's fine on Instagram. And when I post a story, I'm lucky if I get over 100 people seeing it.
Yeah.
And then if I've done promoted posts to see if that would grow, and that's how I managed to grow it over time. But because the reach is so limited, but if I do a promoted post now via my phone, Apple had this huge tax on Meta.
Yeah.
So a £30 campaign, if I wanted to target people, £30 campaign, £5 a day for 6 days, it's £64.
Yeah.
Because of the tax and stuff on it. So I was like, well, who's got time for that? But if you go out and buy followers, which you can do, you can Google buy followers. Say you spend £300, and you get 50. If you see me after this video and I've got 50,000 followers, right?
He's putting ideas. That's
the patron's cash. We could do an experiment and see. And then I get invited to events, and I get invited to brand trips to distilleries, and then I get invited here, there, and everywhere. That's paid for itself.
Yeah, but it's also a
But then
weird...
do they care about what's in the glass? That's the question.
But that's fine. That's a philosophical thing. I just think it's a weird thing to want to do, which sort of then, you know, you kind of get trapped in this like Mobius strip kind of situation. But, you know, it's a bit like, so me and you talked about this a little bit offline, vis-a-vis, you've recently done a remodeling of the Black Lodge, and, you know, you have, you know, a lot, whatever the number that is, of, for example, unopened bottles, right? And one of the things about Vin that I love is that something he said, you know what, like as soon as I get home, when I have a bottle, I basically open it, right? And that means that there's no, like, you know, I might not drink it straight away, but it's open. Yeah. And so, you know, we get through this, you know, there's a collecting and then investing. I've never sold a bottle in auction ever. I actually, in fact, only recently, only in the last couple of weeks, have I bought a couple of bottles in a Scottish whisky auction, just because finally I kind of had the time and the brain space to try to figure out how the mechanics of them worked, and go, oh, if I, you know, so if I bid here and just leave it, well, that happens, versus being in at the end for the snipering and whatever. And then I was going to do some snipering, and then I fell asleep.
Thank God.
Because, you know, they close at 7, but they don't close at 7, you know, they close later. And then I was like, I passed out with 2 hours to go, and then I woke up and I had a couple of bottles. So anyway, it's kind of weird because I'm not, you know, I think if you really go through the history of things I've appeared on, I think I once described collecting whiskey in that way where you really have no intention of drinking ever the bottles, and that you line them up on the shelves because you like the labels. I think I once likened it to collecting donuts. If I guess donuts could be preserved in a way that theoretically, and in many cases for people who collect these bottles where they are on the shelves, it is theoretically, the donut was somehow edible in the future. So if there was a way to put the donut in a vacuum tight case, which would be the equivalent of the unopened bottle, then, you know, and you put them on the shelves, and donuts look beautiful, right? We can all agree. There's like the creme brulee and the you know, the ones, the Jack in the Donuts in Tokyo. What a great name, Jack in the Donut. Have this like galaxy donut. It looks wild, tastes like shit. It's sort of like that, you know. And if you met a donut collector, you would just look at them a bit weirdly and say, so what, you put them on the wall and you sort of admire them, and then I guess you have this combination of being proud of yourself for having got this really rare donut. By the way, you know, whiskey donuts are both made of wheat of some sort, so it is intrinsic.
Yeah, and it's, when you're speaking to someone telling them that, and then they go, but you don't eat the donut. You'd be like, no, maybe one day, but it'll be worth a lot of money, and then maybe. And I am 100% guilty of it. I have bottles that are held for special occasions, and I know myself, I don't know what that special occasion is, right? But it's fine. But at the same time as well, all of these bottles are my money.
Yes.
So I've made a choice. Whereas when there's people buying followers, being sent bottles that then remain unopened.
Yeah.
So like you're talking about auction, that was an auction pickup. I think I paid £45 in the end for that. All fees. Fine. It's £60 in the shop. Saved myself 15 quid. Unopened, because in my head I bought it on a whim to do some sort of video that's never ever happened. But we could open it now. We don't have to. It's like, I've no scarcity. Versus a bottle down here that I got for my birthday on my 40th, and I bottled it and it's very rare because it was a handfill, etc. There'll be a time that'll open, and I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, you do see me dishing out and opening and doing stuff, and I just wonder when I see other people doing it. But why I'm asking, do they enjoy what's in the glasses? I don't see I see the flashiness of it, I see the trips, and I see this. I don't hear the opinion, I don't hear the taste, I don't hear anything about I see the vessel.
Yeah.
I don't see what's inside it. And so it frustrates us, and I know we've had offline conversations with other YouTubers and that about it, about other channels that have bought their success.
Yeah, or other
if it's success,
Instagram.
if it's success, and I feel like at this point, if people are still watching this and hearing this, you're part of us. You're here for a reason. This isn't going to be shown else. Like if people find this and they're upset about it, well, you're upset because you're doing something wrong.
Sorry to hear that. Sorry, not sorry.
It's more a case of just it's a great world to be in, but it's very frustrating, as you said. Here's the Japanese guy, the Japanese whiskey guy in the UK for the launch of a Japanese whiskey that he supported, that A, hasn't firstly been thought of, but then gets in the room, and then B, discovers there's people in the room that don't give a hee-haw. They don't care. They're there for a bit of taking some photos and doing it. I've been in those situations, in those environments. I find it awkward as hell, and probably to my detriment. I'm quite evidently not impressed by it, and I don't play the game, and maybe I should play the game and be super
it's a weird one. I think, and that's why, yeah, exactly. They're playing the game, and this all plays into. I've had a video in the works for a while, inspired by a video that Marquis Brandy made, the tank reviewer, about, you know, what it's like to review Japanese whiskey, and, you know, how, anyway, and some of the things that we've touched on, and a lot more things we haven't touched on. So when I finally release it next year, you should watch it. And, you know, it's sort of, it's an interesting one, right? Like, why... It's for me, it's a fascinating space. But one thing I've learned from being involved in kind of the drink space, and remember, just I don't just cover Japanese whiskey, I also cover sake and shochu and gin. Released a great video with Marcy Sakama, the global brand ambassador for Kinobi Gin, which is a great gin. Is you know, the fact that I've been involved in the comic book space for a long time, and it's the same. You know, wherever you get people of a similar interest, you know, there's always the kind of the politics and the you know, as Paul Van Dyke once said, you know, the politics of dancing, right? It's the space. The space can't remain pure, and there's always, you know, interesting things going on there.
I think I'm checking the time. We've went a lot longer than expected, but the conversation's been fantastic. And I think on that note, we're talking about enjoying bottles, and we've had these. Did we even touch Japanese? But I don't think we did have a drama Japanese at all. I was thinking we open a bottle.
Yeah,
but
let's do that.
I'm gonna pick the bottle that is it up here so I can check the proof. And I'm off camera now. You can hear me judging about hitting bottles. Here we go.
David on camera, David off camera. I mean, you know, he's there in our lives.
We're going to open this.
Whoa, here we go.
Springbank cask strength. This is the first batch of last year's. They've released 2 cask strengths. Now, the reason I'm going to open this as well is because we talked about Patreon and stuff. This was from one of the Patreons. I said on camera, on the stream, about how much I bloody loved this last year.
So that was,
and I was eking it out, and we got the second one, which is 50. Let me see. Let me just check. This is the right one. Yeah. There was a 56.2 and there was a 57.2 last year. And the 56.2 is, I think it's like, I want to say it's like 70 or 80% sherry to bourbon, whereas the 57.2, this one, was bourbon heavy sherry. Yeah. And I much preferred this. And I say don't care about that thing. And if you're watching this and you're at this stage, you know that this is really hard to come by. And then lo and behold, I met one of the Patreons up in Glasgow who happened to be there, and he said, get a whiskey with him. Brilliant. Great to meet him. And then he went, I've got a bottle in my bag for you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he pulled this out. I'm like, here you go. And I was like, what the fuck? And he went, I had it. You were talking about it in the stream. I have it on my shelf. I'm not opening it. Take it. And my mind was just absolutely blown. My wife and her husband just gave you a bottle of whiskey. And I was like, yeah, but it's the first time it's ever happened to me. But I've seen it's happened to other people. But the generosity just blew my mind. And I thought, well, you know what? And I was waiting to open it with people because, again, it was something special. I can't get my nails on that. But
this is a great opportunity, actually, to just talk in general about the generosity of the community, who are legends. I mean, the first time it happened to me was I had reviewed the Yamazaki Limited Edition 2021 and Hibiki Blossom Harmony 2021. And a fan, actually a Japanese fan of the channel, reached out and said, let's move some glasses down. Mac, I have a bottle of both of those and a Hakshu 12, which I want to send you, on the house, because I really love your channel and I wanted to keep going. And you get emotional. And I refused to take it on. I said, I'll pay you. Eventually
there'll be a moment where there'll be something back in kind. And obviously this is the neck pour on that's just owned. I am no fear. It's Springbank. It's cast strength. It is.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could debate. We can talk about neck pour. That possibly bothers you more than it bothers me. I think nice colour.
It gets better in time.
All right. Cheers,
mate. And thank you so much for joining us in the Black Lodge today.
Absolute honour. I've got to say, it's super cool to be in an environment that you watch. It's kind of like meeting celebrities or like visiting a set. I was visited the Warner Brothers lot, and you visit like the set from Friends and this, and walked around that, and I got taken there by friends who kind of are in that industry there. You know who you are, absolute legends, and it's kind of cool. It's cool because you see something on the screen and then you're making a connection with it. And I know we had met before.
Yeah,
this is the first time.
Well, you're saying the space, and the space is the reason I do the behind the scenes videos. And that is because sometimes I like to show how it's. I'm interested to see other people's stuff. How's this? And
how exactly?
And I've seen the master of the live stream, Roy Duff, Aquaviti. I've seen his setup in certain Instagram photos and that.
Yeah.
And it's always amazing because you're like, oh my God, that's what it looks like on the other side or whatever.
Well, I find your behind the scenes stuff surprisingly, and I say that the perfect choice of words, surprisingly fascinating. That it is. It's like an investment. I do it in my tours as well. I often, always actually, explain why I've made the decision, because people are trusting you with their time, and that is something that there is. So circling back to part of how we started this conversation, there's a commonality between what I do on Kanpai Planet and what I do on Macallan Planet, and that's that. I think somebody once wrote online, Matt cares about your holiday possibly more than you do, or probably more than you do. And it truly was. Like, I get quite emotional when I think about it, and it's the same now. Like when I started Kanpai Planet, people are trusting me with 8, 10, 15, 30 minutes. I want to give them value.
Yep.
That's also influenced the way I talk about reviewing. I think there's a very clear divide when I'm reviewing a whiskey between the facts, which I hope are unequivocal, and then my opinions, which are, like arseholes, as a famous quote goes, and they all stink. So you can take what they want. But then also circling back to our conversation about influence, I was lucky enough to be kind of the face of an event working with the Chichibu, like the Saitama Tourism Board. So Saitama is the prefecture that Chichibu is in, and the Chichibu Tourism Board, to try to drive tourism to that town. And there's a lot more than just the Chichibu distillery there. They've actually make a ton of alcohol. There's beer breweries, there's historic sake breweries, there's wineries there as well. And we were trying to develop kind of a drinks themed tour out there. And I met a couple of people from the US, again, big shout out, they know who they are. And I said, how great to have you here. How did you find out about this? They're like, well, we follow you on your YouTube channel, and therefore we follow your Instagram. And as soon as I saw you post it, I turned to my wife and we decided to build our trip around this. And then we talked. I said, we talked a bit more, and they told me like, we bought this because of your video. We stayed away from this Hakshu Spanish Oak 2021 because of your video, right? And you realize actually there's a responsibility there. And initially for me, it was the responsibility just of using people's time. But I can't believe I'm going to fucking say this, but you become an influencer because you have influence.
Yeah.
And it's something to take with responsibility. And so it's such an honor when those people then not only just engage with us, but also do some things like this.
And it's
fantastic.
It's like you said, like as simple as a comment on a video. Every comment means something. And I'm probably set myself up for a fall here now. I have never, ever, ever had an arsehole comment. And I'm like, well, that's because no one's watching. So it's that element. But I get comments on pretty much every video. And they're nice comments and there's a nice community and whatever. And I'm like, I'm happy being small and doing what I do.
Yeah.
Because I could have 10,000 subscribers, right? And I could maybe only get 1,000 views in a video. And then, so that's bringing it down. And then of that, maybe only 20 people will comment. And then I'm kind of wondering, well, what am I doing wrong? Because I've got it becomes this whole other thing. Versus at the moment, my engagement, like on an average video view, 40-50% completion rate on a video. Brilliant. Might only have 200 views. I don't care. That's 100 people have sat and watched.
Yeah, well, you lose perspective on it.
100 people is a fucking lot of people.
You lose perspective. I was at the Edinburgh Fringe and I watched 37 shows in 7 days. And there are some of the funniest human beings on earth, and they're playing to a crowd of 100 people. Admittedly, every day.
Yeah.
But that 100 will grow, you know, and so
100 people go and talk to 2 people.
Yeah.
200 people become and it just
it grows, but we lose sense of it. I mean, it was actually some tour guests of mine said, "Oh, what's the largest number of views you've got on a Kanpai Planet video?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've got a couple, like review ones, and one's talking about the industry. They've got like 25,000 views." And oh my God, like that's a stadium full of people.
But the problem is we're looking at the Casey Neistats and Mr. Beasts and all that, and you're like,
it's just a different world.
They've got a crap video this month because they only get 500,000 views on that one, and I'm like, I wouldn't even know what to do with that.
We're in, you know,
we're in a niche upon a niche.
It's a niche upon a niche in my case. Well, I've got that extra level. And it's not the way to think about success.
And I think it comes back to why we do it, and we do it because we actually want to do it. And at the end of the day, that's why I think that's so jarring with that buying of followers.
Yeah.
And that, why are you doing it? If I don't understand. Oh, because you get freebies.
It's the donut thing. It's a weird thing. If anybody said I tried this 30-year donut to you, you'd think they were weird. Yeah. And even within the donut space, you'd think they were. So it's a strange thing to want to be fake about. And that goes through, you know, and we've sort of really talked about the point, like, it's people who buy followers, Instagram followers, you know who you are. People, the industry putting out crap liquid under a fancy brand, right? Anything fake about it is jarring, I think, for people who authentically love something. And you see that in many spaces, and you just see that in life, you know?
I think just the final thoughts on that point is why it upsets us is because it diminishes trust in what we do.
Yeah.
It's the poo at the pool party. It just, all it takes is one person to do a shit in the pool and it ruins it for everybody.
Yeah.
And so we don't call it out either, because then it looks like we're bitter because we're not getting what we're getting.
Exactly.
So it's a bit of a weird ground. But on that note, I think for the first one at the bar, I think that's quite successful, mate. I think we've covered a wide range of topics. The glass count means it's definitely been successful for us.
Been successful for us.
On a hump day.
Thank you all for watching.
Thank you for coming, mate. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this with us, which,
thank you,
very quickly, is phenomenal. I'm not really,
Springbank hype.
Yeah, it's interesting because having lived in Japan now for almost 20 years, I've not really been part of any kind of Springbank hype.
Yeah.
It does exist over there, by the way. But, I drink when I go to, Aloha Whiskey or Bar Seashell or some of my other favorite bars. If a good Springbank is there, I'll try it. Some have been good, some have been average, and some have been truly terrible, surprise their bottled. And when you have the terrible ones, you're like, well, why is everybody buying into what's the hype? So I've not been part of that circle, but what I can say is I know a good dram, and this is a good dram.
It's a great dram.
On the nose, you've got, again, just very rich, right? So bit of sweetness on the
nose
on the
itself,
top
for
there.
what we've been doing, because this is what I mean about fresh bottle pops. The only thing for me in a fresh bottle pop is sometimes the alcohol, the vapours are still there.
Yeah,
So concentrated but it's just got, again, it's almost like the Ben Rennes. The character of the Springbank liquid is chewy.
Yeah.
And that's why it works so well with sherry, but it's also why it works so well with bourbon cask, because it takes on the characteristics of that, but it still gives you the funk, which is the famous dunnage, the funk from Campbelltown. And that's only going to get better with time.
And you see that in the sort of chewiness of the dram there, right? That do that face again.
It's just a meaty.
It's just like,
and when I say meaty, it's almost like I don't even know what I mean by meaty. It's
that face is though sums up. I don't think words are needed. Just whenever people go, "What's the Springbank profile?" We need your face. It's just like it's when you say meaty, that it's like a combination of like depth, solidity, like chewiness.
There's a chewiness, almost like take a handful of mince, cooked mince, and just ram it in your face, and you'll get that chewiness, that bittiness, but you've got that texture, and you've got the fattiness and everything that's kind of going on. If you had like a bolognese or something like that, and it's such a weird, when people say, "What do you mean by meaty?" Meaty can be many different things. To me, that's what meaty is. That's what Ben Rennes has as well. Just this depth that's, I can spend a bit of time with this.
Yeah,
I've finished it. I've not finished it because it's still going on.
Yeah, it's still going on, exactly. And that's when you know you've had a whiskey that was worth having, right?
Exactly. And I think on that note, great dram to finish.
Well, this was a conversation worth having, my friend.
Mate,
cheers. Final drink.
Now we're away to get some lunch because it's still early in the day and there's more content to come. So I'm sure it'll be funny to see what videos come up next, because we've got no plan. Anyway, I'm going to walk off camera as I normally do. See you later, Mick.
Cheers, David, and until next time, Kanpai.